Everybody used the innocent girl in the prison. The metal door slammed behind. Sarah Mitchell with a sound that would echo in her nightmares for years to come. 22 years old, fresh out of community college, and now wearing an orange jumpsuit that smelled like industrial detergent and broken dreams. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking as a female guard with tired eyes led her down a corridor that seemed to stretch into forever. Keep your head down, don't make eye contact, and for God's sake, don't trust anyone, the guard muttered, almost like she cared. Almost. Sarah had been in the county jail for 3 weeks, awaiting trial. But this was different. This was Riverside Women's Correctional Facility in upstate New York, and this was real prison. 5 years for embezzlement, they said? Except Sarah hadn't embezzled anything. Her boss, Mr. Henderson, had been cooking the books at the accounting firm for years, and when the FBI came knocking, he'd made sure every digital fingerprint pointed straight to his youngest, quietest employee, the girl who never said no, the girl who stayed late without complaint, the girl everyone trusted because she seemed too naive to question anything. In the holding cell, her public defender had looked at her with something between pity and frustration. Take the plea deal, Sarah. You're looking at 15 years if this goes to trial. 5 years with good behavior means you could be out in 3. But I didn't do it, she'd whispered, tears streaming down her face. Doesn't matter what you did, honey. Matters what they can prove. And right now, your name is on everything. Her first night in Gen Pop, Sarah lay on a thin mattress that smelled like every person who'd ever slept. There before her, staring at the concrete ceiling and wondering how her life had turned into a bad movie. Her cellmate, a woman named Rita with gray streaks in her hair and a scar across her left eyebrow, hadn't said a single word to her, just climbed onto the top bunk and pretended Sarah didn't exist. It started small. It always does. A woman named Tasha approached her in the lunch line the next day. She had kind eyes and a warm smile, and Sarah felt a flood of relief that maybe, just maybe, she'd found someone decent in this place. You look lost, baby girl, Tasha said, steering Sarah to a table in the corner. Stick with me. I'll show you the ropes. For 2 weeks, Tasha was Sarah's guardian angel. She taught her which guards to avoid, which showers were safest, how to hold her commissary bag so no one could snatch it. Sarah felt grateful. So grateful she didn't notice the price being tallied up. Hey, I need you to do something for me, Tasha said one afternoon in the yard. Small thing? Nothing big? Sarah should have known. She should have remembered the guard's warning. But Tasha had been kind when no one else was. And isn't that how they get you? Through the cracks in your armor? Through your desperate need to not be alone? There's a guard. Officer Ramos, I need you to pass him a note during dinner shift. That's all. Just slip it to him when you walk by. What's the note say? Sarah asked, her stomach already knotting. Tasha's warm smile cooled by several degrees. Baby girl, you don't ask questions like that. Not here. You owe me, remember? All those times I looked out for you? The note was about contraband, of course. Sarah found out later it was setting up a drop point for cell phones that were being smuggled in. When Officer Ramos got written up by another guard who witnessed the exchange, he made sure Sarah paid for it. Extra shakedowns. Reports filed for imaginary violations. Time in solitary for suspicious behavior. After solitary, Sarah was different. 3 days in a concrete box with nothing but your thoughts will do that. She was harder, warier. But somehow, that made her more vulnerable, not less. Because now everyone could see it. The innocence was cracking, and wounded animals are always the easiest prey. Rita, her silent cellmate, finally spoke to her. You're going about this all wrong, she said one night. You need protection, real protection. She introduced Sarah to Carmen, who ran one of the main crews. Carmen was doing 25 years for armed robbery and had the kind of reputation that made people step aside when she walked through a room. I can keep you safe, Carmen said, looking Sarah up and down like she was evaluating merchandise. But nothing's free in here. You understand? Sarah nodded, even though she didn't understand. Not really, not yet. Carmen's protection meant errands. It meant being a lookout while other women conducted business. It meant holding things, carrying things, lying to guards about things. Sarah told herself it was survival. She told herself she didn't have a choice. And maybe she didn't. But every compromise carved away another piece of who she used to be. The worst part was how smart they all were about it. They used her clerical skills, had her keeping books for the underground. Economy that flourished in every corner of the prison. They used her innocent face, sending her to make requests to guards who still saw a sweet girl instead of an inmate. They used her guilt, her fear, her fundamental inability to say no to people who might hurt her if she did. "You're good at this," Carmen told her one day, and Sarah didn't know whether to feel proud or ashamed. Months passed. Sarah learned the rhythm of prison life, learned how to move through it like a ghost, never quite present, never quite gone. She made calls she didn't want to make, passed messages she didn't want to know about, and slowly became indispensable to people who would cut her loose in a heartbeat if the situation changed. Her mom visited once every few months, making the 4-hour drive from Boston. Each time Sarah could see her mother aging years between visits. The last time, her mom had held Sarah's hands across the table in the visiting room and said, "Baby, I don't recognize you anymore." Sarah had pulled her hands away. "You don't know what it's like in here. Mom, you don't know what you have to do to survive." But that night, lying in her bunk with Rita snoring above her, Sarah realized her mom was right. She didn't recognize herself either. The girl who'd walked in here 18 months ago, the girl who cried herself to sleep and believed in justice and fairness. That girl was gone. In her place was someone harder, someone who knew how to work the angles, who understood that everyone uses everyone. And the only question is whether you get something out of it, too. The turning point came on a Tuesday. Sarah was summoning every piece of information about contraband movements into a small notebook, hidden in the library. A job Carmen had given her because of her neat handwriting and attention to detail. Officer Ramos caught her, and this time, there would be no talking her way out. "You know what this means," he said quietly, confiscating the notebook. "This is enough to add years to your sentence." Sarah felt something break inside her. Not break open, but break clean. Like a bone that's been cracked for so long it finally just snaps. "I don't care," she heard herself say. "Do whatever you want. I'm done." They put her in segregation pending investigation. Another concrete box. Another stretch of nothing but time and thoughts. But this time, something was different. This time, Sarah started remembering who she used to be. Not the naive girl who got railroaded by her boss, but someone even before that. The girl who wanted to help people, who got into accounting because she liked making numbers, tell true stories. When they brought her to the hearing, Sarah did something she hadn't done since the day she was arrested. She told the truth, all of it. Every name, every scheme, every compromise she'd made. She knew what it would cost her. In prison, snitches end up bleeding in showers or choking on food in the cafeteria. But here's what Sarah had finally learned. There are different ways to be used, and different ways to survive. She could keep being everyone's useful, innocent girl, compromising piece by piece until there was nothing left of her. Or she could stand up, face the consequences, and maybe, just maybe, start rebuilding something real. The prison officials offered her protective custody in exchange for her testimony. Carmen's crew was taken down. Sarah spent the rest of her sentence in a different facility, isolated, but somehow more herself than she'd been in years. When she walked out 3 years later, her mom was waiting by the gate, older but steady. Hay hugged for a long time, and Sarah cried the way she hadn't let herself cry since that first night in county jail. "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered, "for everything, for who I became in there." Her mom pulled back and looked at her with fierce love. "Baby, you survived. That's not nothing. Now we figure out what comes next." What came next was hard. Parole, therapy, trying to find work with a felony record. But Sarah had learned something in that concrete hell. She'd learned that being innocent isn't about being naive or never making mistakes. Real innocence is knowing who you are when everything is stripped away. and choosing to be that person even when it costs you everything. She started speaking at community colleges, telling her story to kids who looked just like she used to look, warning them about bosses who seemed too friendly, about how easy it is to become someone's scapegoat, about how the system isn't designed to protect people like them. And slowly, painfully, Sarah Mitchell stopped being the innocent girl everyone used and became something stronger. A woman who knew exactly what she'd survived and refused to let it define her. If Sarah's story moved you, if it made you think about second chances in survival and the price we pay for other people's crimes, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me about a time you had to find strength you didn't know you had. And smash that like button because stories like Sarah's need to be heard. We can fight back. We can survive. We can become something more. See you in the next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.